So today we're sitting here with Mbita Bakari. If you don't know Mbita, years ago when I was working in radio and I wanted to learn martial arts, and everybody was telling me go to this person, go to that person, and he may not know this story. So I said, this is what I want. I said, I want to find somebody that's going to whip my butt until they can't whip my butt no more. And they were like, go to Mbita. And I went to like people that didn't know each other. And that's what and like the people who had no idea that I was going to different people, his name kept coming up. So I find out that my son and his children go to the same school, but I didn't meet him. I kept asking, how do I meet him? How do I get to class? He wasn't teaching at the time. When I finally got in his class, number one, I learned so much. I mean, the first class, I felt like I could defend myself better, which is important to me. Every class after that, I felt like I was progressing, I was learning. Excellent teacher, but he's also an actor, stunt man. He does a lot of things. What all do you do? So you can explain yourself.
All right, so my background is basically everything that you spoke on all started from martial arts.
Okay.
So I started training with Terry Gibson in Tulsa, Oklahoma back in 1990 or 91. It's a progressive martial arts studio, and Terry is a student of Danny Inosanto. I'm also a student of Danny Inosanto's. So I took the journey with Terry, and we did Kali, we did Jeet Kune Do concepts, and we did Mafalindo Pinjat Salat, all three of which I'm certified to instruct in. So I taught all the way up until the film thing kind of took over, and I wasn't able to keep my commitment with my students because of my film commitments. So I just kind of stopped teaching, but you still retain that. Once a person attains a certain level of skill, that's retained. You don't lose. It's like riding a bike.
Right.
As soon as you can jump right back into it. At any level, and find yourself not out of fish, not as a fish out of water, but very comfortable in going forward. So from my martial arts background, I was able to work for a private military corporation, and we were sent to Dubai. And we were protecting, some oil interests. Let's just leave it at that. And so I got to work for a private military corporation in 2007. And then I moved back to New Orleans in 2009. And that's when my film thing kind of resumed. Because I had been doing film work since 1999. Stunt production work, some acting, commercials, some background work, featured background work, films like Runaway Jury, Freshman Orientation, films, small films, but not as, the volume wasn't then what it is now,
right,
or had been then as it is now. Filming in New Orleans is basically taken over, and we're known as Hollywood South. So it's basically from my martial arts background and some of the work that I did with the PMC, that I was able to transition into film very easily, especially in stunts.
Mm-hmm.
So in 1999, I started in stunts. I worked on Dracula 2000 as a stunt production assistant and done fight choreography on a couple of films. Welcome to the Battle Zone is the one where the director was like, dude, you need to get an agent. You're really good at this. Your hands are a little too fast for the camera, but you're really good at this. You have a good look, get an agent. So I got an agent, and kind of that's where I am right now.
Okay. So, what we generally talk about is emergency preparedness, and you and I were talking earlier about a lot of the recent developments, a lot of what's going on. So, when you look at what's going on in the streets right now, and the first thing that's going to pop in everybody's mind, of course, is the Proud Boys, and we see these videos of them fighting Antifa. We see these videos of them at rallies attacking people for Black Lives Matter and different things like that. So one of the reasons I wanted to get you on was because I know that, as far as I'm concerned, and everything you've taught me, you are my expert on martial arts.
Thank you.
So I wanted you to share that with my audience. But what do you think would be important for people to learn with everything that's going on in the world today? What types of martial arts? What do you think? Because right now we're in a period where you don't have a lot of time to get ready. What do you think people should do?
Well, like I said, my background is primarily in the Filipino martial arts. Although I have taught capoeira, I'm well versed in capoeira, but primarily my go-to art is the Filipino martial arts. And the reason for that is Filipino martial arts offer the student the gamut of combatives. We're talking about impact weapons, long and short. We're talking about edge weapons, long and short. And the unique thing about the Filipino martial arts is that what we do with the impact weapons is immediately translatable to one's empty hand weapons, and the same thing for the blades. A lot of the applications that we have that we employ with the impact weapon or the bladed weapon, they automatically translate to empty hand. So with that being said, that's immediately what you want to get into. Another unique thing about the Filipino martial arts is that, as in most martial arts, traditionally one progresses from empty hand to the weapons. Mm-hmm. Whereas in the Filipino martial arts, we start with weapons, and as you get better, you progress to the empty hand. And the reason for that being is because of the history of the Philippines. When the Philippines were being colonized by the Americans, by the Spaniards, that's where the name Philippines come from, because they were colonized under the reign of King Philip.
Okay.
The Spaniards abolished bladed weapons because of the effectiveness of the Filipinos with the bladed weapons. So then the Filipinos took to using hard wood or rattan like this, which is an exotic grass. Basically, rattan is a grass, and it just grows tall, just like bamboo can be considered a grass.
Right.
So, and what they understood or what they learned through using the impact weapons was that with a bladed weapon, in combat, someone is cut, they can get stitched up, and they can go back into combat. Whereas with the impact weapons, and we're talking about woods like cocobolo, like barong, we're talking about ironwoods. When these woods smash the bone, there's no stitching there. You actually have to, put a cast on it to let it heal, and it takes longer time for that warrior to be combat effective again. A stitch is one thing, you go right back into the fray. Whereas if your hand is crushed, if your arm is crushed, your elbow is crushed, your shin is crushed, your head is crushed, your collarbone is crushed, you're out of the fray for a longer period of time.
So what that makes me think of is that, when you're talking about an impact weapon could be anything.
Yes, it can.
I mean, it could be not only anything you could pick up off the ground, but also if and when it becomes illegal to have certain weapons or carry certain things, you can almost always find a legal, a stick or a legal thing to use as an impact weapon.
It's as basic as literally having a stick, and sticks are literally everywhere. It can even be curved, it doesn't matter. As long as you can effectively make your blows, a stick is a stick is a stick. Mm-hmm. And it can be used very, very effectively in the right hands. Because again, with the Filipino martial arts, in covering the gamut, we're talking about not only just impacts, we're talking about joint manipulations, we're talking about joint locks, we're talking about affecting throws, we're talking about affecting finishing moves with the stick also, as far as chokes. Okay? So when I say it covers the gamut, I mean we're talking everything from the weapons to the feet and everything in between.